Dashamaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to episode 316 of the GeoGearHeads. I'm Chris of the Northwest, along with our, every week I say illustrious, I should come up with a different adjective, our illustrious host, Daryl W4. And Daryl, we're doing one of the shows that I enjoy. Let me get this straight. I enjoy all the shows, but these particular ones I find a little more enjoyable just because it's a different format. We call it Randomize.
I was going to say you kind of were about to back yourself into a corner again there.
Yeah, I don't like any of the shows, to be honest with you. I don't even know why I do this every week.
Yeah, let's just pack it in. This is it, guys. Sorry, no more shows. All right. Well, we do have a whole bunch of material tonight. A whole bunch of feedback from our audience, actually, and then a few articles. So why don't we kick that off right now with a feedback from LNN Radio. This is in regards to the show on connections, which, Railroad. Chris, you missed that.
Railroad.
What did I say?
LNN Railroad. Maybe they use radios, but it's LNN Railroad.
I have no idea how I messed that up. Sorry about that. All right. There is a simple way to add strain relief to an inexpensively constructed connector. A little bit of Sugru stuck on the wire is a simple way to add strain relief. Often when I'm repairing something with a packet of Sugru, I will have a little left over. Instead of throwing it away, I just find the cable and add some strain relief. I have one comment on amperage or power supplies and cables. A device has a maximum charge rate, and even if the cable and power supply have a greater capacity, the charge rate will not increase beyond that maximum unless the device is defective. If I have a device that draws a maximum of half an amp when I'm charging it, it will only draw the maximum of half an amp, even if the cable I have is good for 2 amps and a 5 amp power supply. It's still better to have components rated to handle greater power than needed, but when the maximum charge rate is reached, any additional upgrades won't speed charging. Actually, why don't we pause right there? He does have more on the ferrite beads, but that is a good point. The only catch is with some of the rapid chargers, you don't want to use the wrong standard or a standard that isn't supported. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard problems in probably a year, 2 years on it, but with some of the earlier rapid chargers, quick chargers, they were actually frying either cables or connectors, sometimes even the batteries, because something just wasn't working right.
Exactly. And I completely agree with LNN Railroad. Once the device has reached its maximum current draw, it will not draw anymore. However, it's always good to have cables and power supplies that will provide more than you need for an instance when it could surge up to that level. So,
well, and you never know when you're going to get something like a tablet that you want to plug in and charge that uses that 2.1 amps. Right. So it's always good to get the cables and the chargers that work that way. But the difference is that with those quick charge, it's going off the USB spec. That's why those can be kind of dangerous. So I generally recommend avoiding the quick chargers unless you have the device that it's specifically designed for.
That's true. Daryl, I have never regretted buying a high quality charge cable.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, I've been going through a whole bunch lately. It seems like the moisture in the air, especially in the cars right now, you get the snow and everything that you're tracking into the car. You're running the defrost. You've got all this moisture. You can feel the moisture in the air because it's so dry outside.
Saunas that you drive.
Right. I've been chewing through cables where I'm actually like Yeah, I've got little scorch marks on the end of a couple of the
Hmm,
cables.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now I this, email that L&N Railroad sent has so many good points in it that I'm glad you stopped. Let's go back to Sugru. I love
Oh,
Sugru.
okay. I
I
think
don't
we
know.
talked about it on the show once before too.
Yeah, Sugru is kind of it's a putty. So think of it a bit like silly putty. However, when it dries, when it sets, it's that shape, period. It's got a little flexibility to it. One of the great uses of Sugru is to repair the prongs in your dishwasher. You know, when the enamel or plastic comes off there and that thing rusts, that metal spike up there rusts and gets rust on all your dishes. Put a little drop of Sugru on there. It'll hold up for the rest of the life of the dishwasher, I guarantee you. But it will do other things as well. And strain relief on cables is a great way to do it. Now,
Excellent.
personally, I use a 3D printer and print little strain relief doodads. That's the technical term, widgets for my cables. They have them for USB cables, and since I use the lightning cable, I give them to my kids because I've never damaged a lightning cable or a phone cable, but they go through them like once a week. And ever since I made them use these little 3D printed strain relief, it goes up over the connector and down over the wire. They're they're not damaging cables.
Interesting. Do you have a link to Thingiverse or something that you can share for that?
Um, Not with me, but I could find one.
All right.
But
Way to
yes,
put you on the spot.
and actually what I did is I printed the Thingiverse thing at like 110% size, and it fits much nicer.
Ah,
So,
yeah. I've run into that on a few of those when I was printing, where I had to adjust the size just a bit to get it to work right.
so those have worked really well for me. Um, and it only adds a half inch, say, to where the cable actually connects to the connector or that junction right there, but it seems to be enough.
All right, let's continue though. Ferrite can be added to cables that don't have them if there's an interference problem that needs to be tamed. There are clamp-on cores that will snap onto wires, and there are large rectangular cores that can have the wire run wrapped around the core. The ferrite are usually added by the manufacturer to reduce some amount of radio noise radiated to meet FCC rules, but they can also be used when radio energy is getting into the wire from another source, which can cause problems. If someone lives close to a 50,000 watt AM radio station, for example, the signal can get into everything. There is a powerful shortwave broadcast station at Lebanon, Tennessee, near Nashville, that is known for shutting down the electronics in some cars if they drive on the station's property and get too close to the antennas. So maybe you need a ferrite
Ooh,
bead for your car.
isn't your car a big ferrite bead? It's a large metal conductive enclosure.
Yeah, no, it's a chamber, not a bead.
Yeah, you're right.
Or maybe you're the
I've
wire in the bead. I don't know.
I've never had to add a ferrite core to any wire to relieve uh, radio interference.
I had to do that on some of my old tube amps for the speaker wires. That's
Mm,
about the only time I really had problems with it. And actually, I had to do that with some of the old computer serial cables
mm.
when they were going near the amplifiers, just because those old amps that I was using put out so much RF that it was actually affecting those. But most of the hardware these days is not going to be susceptible to it. But when you're dealing with something like the GPSRs, which is where that ferrite bead reference comes to, because Garmin used to, and I think they still do, have a ferrite bead on the mini USB side of the cable to reduce the interference from the radios in the GPSRs.
I would agree with you. I don't have anything else to add though.
All right. Well, let's move
Uh,
on then.
okay. The next bit of feedback we get from Eric in Virginia via the website. They start with "Hello, Daryl," and apparently I'm just ignored, but
Well,
that's okay. I
you
wasn't
get
on
that
that
show,
episode.
right? So he couldn't say hi to you, and he knew Land Monkey wasn't going to be here,
Okay.
even though he is a Charo of GeoGearHeads.
Hello, Daryl. I just finished your podcast on connections. My Motorola Z phone takes a USB-C, and in order to listen with headphones, there's an adapter that plugs into the phone, and on the other end is a headphone jack. But I don't think it's the most convenient way because you have to have that cord with you and don't misplace it. I found that I do not have to buy new cables because there's an adapter to use your old cables to convert it to USB-C. Another great show from Eric.
Thank you
So,
very much. And yes, this is the same problem that we were kind of talking about with the lightning cables and the headphone
exactly.
jack. But USB C is getting the same kind of stuff. Hopefully, that's going to be expanding. So we're going to get more and more of it. But sadly, it looks like everything they're doing now is going to Bluetooth, which don't get me wrong, I like my Bluetooth headsets, but I would much rather have a good wired connection available. And that's just not going to be an option in the near future.
I agree. I now I like Bluetooth. Use it in the car. Got some great Bluetooth headsets, headphones, but there's times where I want the wire.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you're doing like recording, you
Mhm,
get so much better
mhm,
audio quality out of a wired connection and you don't have to worry about the interference. Now, I just got the AirPods for Christmas, and actually, I got them before Christmas, but I got them as my Christmas gift, and they have been just amazing. The problem that you have with the Bluetooth, where if you get it, like you put it on one side of the
mhm,
car and you get out of the car and you can't hear anything anymore because the car is enough of a Faraday cage to kill it.
mhm.
The AirPods keep working in those situations. And like
Interesting.
I can have it on the armrest of the sofa charging and walk around the entire first floor of the condo and I never lose a connection. It is amazing. And that's the first time I've had a Bluetooth device that works anywhere close to that well.
So
So,
you're going beyond the standard 33 feet of Bluetooth.
well, I'm not sure that I'm actually going beyond the 33 feet, but I
You're
am
going through the
going
33 feet that should be there all the time?
I'm think I'm within I think it's 50 feet is what these are technically rated for. But even then, I'm still within the 33 feet. The problem is I'm going like there's a bathroom with all of the
Mhm.
plumbing, which always causes problems. There's vent stacks. There's uh, other radio equipment in the way, and it still works. And I've yet to have a problem with that.
Well, interesting.
With the other units, if I get out of line of sight, the Jaybirds were like the best that I've had in a while,
Mhm.
but they still have some issues, and their range was so bad that if I was out on a humid day or on a rainy day and I had it in the case on the bike, I would start to actually lose connection.
Really?
Yeah,
On the bike? So you're
on the bike.
talking, 3 feet away maximum.
Not even like
Right.
maybe 16 inches. That would be pushing it because it's on the handlebars of the bike. I was still having problems where on those really humid days, it was cutting out. Now,
That's
with
just not
that,
good.
with that, what I do worry about is maybe the phone is scaling back power to the Bluetooth because it's getting too warm.
That could be.
But just again, walking around here with the Plantronics, with the what was the other one that I had? Blue Ant. Blue Ant was really good as well. The Blue Jays, the Anchors. Yeah, I could get line of sight and a little bit more, but
Mhm.
once I got on the other side of the television, when I got near the bathroom, it would just start cutting out. So we are getting better,
Mhm.
but
Now with my Plantronics, if the phone was in the pocket opposite of the ear that the Plantronics was in, it would cut out
Yes. Yeah, I
because,
have
well,
that problem a lot
apparently
too.
my body is a Faraday cage.
Well, we're sacks of mostly water, and water is a good insulator for radio signals, or well, absorber.
But I haven't experienced that with the Bose or, um, that other one that I have,
Okay.
you
Now,
know?
a lot of that is down to the antenna design, and generally, the larger the antenna, the better.
Mhm,
And you get into a lot of these small earbuds, and they don't have much of an antenna. Things like the Jaybirds, it's the cord connecting it through the back that goes around your shoulder, around your neck rather. Those usually will use that cable as the antenna, so they tend to work better than your little in-ear ones. But one of my best headsets has been the Plantronics Legend Pro or something like that. One of the ones that has the big battery pack that goes behind the ear and the little
mm,
boom.
mhm, mhm.
And I almost never use it to actually talk on the phone, but I used it constantly for listening to podcasts while I walk the dog. It died a long time ago, so I've been on the hunt for a good Bluetooth headset, and all the guys at the office rave about it. Everyone I've been talking with who has them just loves them. So I finally broke down and bought the AirPods after I tried them in the store, and it is one of the worst designs for a headphone or for an earphone that I could imagine. But for some reason, it works so well, and the um, performance of it is amazing.
Hmm, interesting. I
That said,
do
I
like
have
the fact
problems with the sensors.
that you can use one at a time. I
Yeah,
do
well, and
like
that's
that.
exactly what I do is I use one, either the left or the right ear almost all the time, and then the other one is almost always in the case. It's only if I get into a noisy environment that I use both.
Mhm,
But the problem that I'm running into is that the little sensors to detect whether it's in your ear or not, which I think are laser IR. Someone was talking about the build, and I think that's what they said it was. But they don't tend to detect correctly when they are still in my ear. So like just walking around, it's like they'll like disconnect and reconnect.
hmm,
And this is one of the good things with the AirPods as well. If you pull one out, it pauses the show or
m'kay.
whatever you're
Right,
playing.
whatever you're playing.
Right. Which is the problem is that it thinks it's coming out of my ear and it's pausing.
Mhm. Well, Daryl, I think most of it is because you're not actually human.
Oh, well, that would
Oh, is this
explain it.
the wrong time to tell you you're a robot?
Yeah.
Okay. Never
Okay.
mind then, we'll come back to that subject. Let's circle back around.
So sounds good. But back on these adapters, yes, there are USB-C adapters,
Mhm,
and there are Lightning adapters. Now the catch is most of those USB-C adapters are USB 2. They're not USB 3. So don't expect to get USB 3 bandwidth if you're using it as a data connector. But for charging, they're beautiful. Then with Lightning on the iPhones, they're all USB 2 anyway, so it doesn't matter.
right, right.
Now,
Oh,
the
Wet
one
Coaster
thing
says it's not detecting life between your ears.
the one thing I do like keeping those adapters around in my laptop bag just because they're great to have around.
Mhm,
I don't like using them so much because I've run into issues where they'll come a little bit loose and I won't realize it and it stops charging.
mhm, mhm.
So a little bit of a trick there is like wrap some gaffer tape around it just to make sure it holds if you're going to
A
convert a
little
table for full time. I was just gonna say Sugru would probably work well.
I see that USB-C, and I like the letter C, so I'm just gonna throw that out there, is going to be the standard. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
working towards that now. It's gonna take a while, though.
Yeah.
Standards don't change quickly.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm willing to buy USB-C cables just because I'm expecting everything to go USB-C. The trouble is I really wanna just go USB-CC,
Mhm,
so it's just a C to C cable,
right.
but I have nothing except for a couple of phones that are USB-C. So
Right.
that doesn't do me good to buy those cables yet, but that's what I really want to do. Just
And
that way it's the same cable and don't have to worry about what it's being used for.
exactly, exactly. And that's what I see the future is gonna be the standard cable. Doesn't matter which end, you can borrow anybody's, and it'll be universal.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, it goes from
when we have
laptops
the
to
metallic jumpsuits.
but yeah, it goes from laptops to cameras to cable or to phones to tablets to you name it. Everything will be using the C, and it's the same cable to connect all of it. Then
But you know what? Charging cables are so passé.
yes, they are. But I'm so thrilled at this next story because Engadget is reporting that the power mat standard has ceded to Qi. So I don't know. Have you played with any of the power mat stuff?
No, I don't have anything that uses qi or qui.
I
You know,
have played with some of the power mat stuff in like demos and again at Starbucks because Starbucks is signed on to power mat.
mhm.
And one of the Starbucks on the way to Chicago for me has the Qi or the power mat tables, and they used to have the little adapters hanging on
Oh,
the
did they?
table. So you'd plug into your Lightning or
Mhm.
mini USB or micro USB, and then set it on the table and it would charge.
Oh,
It
nice.
sucked.
See, there was the step I was missing. I was like, even if they have it, I don't have anything that can use it.
Yeah, no, so it was really cool that they were doing that, but it sucked. I could like you'd have to put it like in just the right spot, and even then, it was like if I left the screen on, it didn't have enough power to charge my 6S. Just like checking mail, it was really really sad.
So it's not what Tesla envisioned in wireless power.
No, no, but PowerMat, which uses the air fuel inductive standard, which was the only remaining competitor really to the Qi format, which is, there's these two formats that have been battling it out. It's the Beta versus VHS, Beta Max versus VHS. And what's happened now is that PowerMat standard has joined the Wireless Power Consortium, which is Qi, which is spelled QI, by the way.
Yeah.
Pronounced Qi, spelled QI. So it is now the last man standing. Is Qi for wireless all the way around. This makes me very happy. We don't have the format wars for wireless charging. And basically, what PowerMat had said in their quote is that the new iPhones were the final nail in the coffin. That was it. And they had to move on. So it is now all Qi. And that means that your Nexus phones, your iPhone 10s and 8s are all going to charge off the same standard, which they already have. But one of the interesting notes in one of the articles that I read is it sounds like PowerMat's actually going in and retrofitting Starbucks with the Qi standard.
Oh, really?
Yes. And see, this is the thing about the wireless charging. It is not something I want to use to charge up my phone. However, it is awesome to have in your tables, in your docks, that kind of stuff, as just here, I'm going to put the phone down for a little while and give me a little bit of a charge. If you're going to the
Right.
coffee shop, you don't want to plug in. And there's no data that can pass over these Qis really. So you don't have to worry about hacks and that kind of stuff. So you go to the coffee shop, drop this on the table. It's charging while you're drinking your latte and checking your tablet for your news, or let's face it, most people are probably in there looking at Facebook and pictures of cats.
Meow.
But we can be there with our laptops, prepping our next set of caches to hit, and solving those puzzles, and the phone is topping off as we sit there and still there and sending caches back and forth. And I just really like the idea of the wireless charging for that. However, I always want to plug it in when I'm going to charge.
Mhm.
That's how it charges the best and the fastest and the most efficiently.
Daryl, wouldn't it be awesome if your, uh, airplane seat tray had a Qi wireless spot on it? You could have your tray down, charge your phone while you're on the plane.
I was thinking about that. I don't know that we're going to get that exactly, but something like that I expect is very likely. One of the interesting things is a lot of cars do have the Qi chargers built in. So you slot in your phone and it's charging up in this little cubby hole. There's also the Palm Pre, from actually, I think it is 10 or 11 years ago now, had a car charger that was Qi
Hmm.
with magnets. So all you had to do was take the phone, set it on there, and it would magnetically stick to the dashboard.
Mhm.
It's not to the dashboard, but we have all those magnetic chargers that are all the rage right now.
Magnetic
So
mounts.
right. But yeah, magnetic mounts. Sorry, if we can put the chargers in those,
Mhm.
which there are a couple of that I found out there that do that, then we're in good shape. However, what I'm
Well,
seeing is that most of those still have the little prongs to hold the phone because I'm assuming in the car, with as big as these phones are now, they're going to bounce too much that the magnets aren't trustworthy.
okay, 2 issues. Well, first of all, I have one for my 6S Plus, and it holds it just fine. But it
The
needs
magnetic
m
adapter?
magnetic mount, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, the magnetic chargers are what I'm talking about, though,
Okay.
where they have the prong still, because
So,
you have to keep a large surface area available for the charger.
it's non-metallic, non-ferrous.
What, the charger or
That's the reason that the iPhone 10 changed its back design to glass,
right,
because you can't charge through aluminum or, steel,
right,
and that's what these magnetic mounts require, is a steel plate.
right. And what they had done with like the pre was there was a magnet in the back, if I remember. It could have just been a big like steel plate, but they do have in most of them some kind of metal in the middle that they can use as steel plate. And that was originally as much to register the position so that if you drop your phone onto the charger, it would auto center itself.
Mhm.
Get it close and it slides into position.
Right.
They've gotten good enough with the chargers that you don't have to do that now. And I don't think any of the chargers that I've had for Qi have any kind of magnets aside from the Apple Watch, because that is also Qi, but it actually uses the magnet in the charging base to tell the watch when it is to charge. Now, I think from what I've been hearing, they got rid of that with the Series 2 and 3. So if you're on a Series 2 or 3, it no longer needs the magnet to trigger charging.
Interesting. I still haven't have the killer app yet for the watch, to go get the watch.
No, but it's one of those things. If you're into exercising, you probably are going to want it. Now, if you're into serious sports or whatnot, you'll probably want something
Like the
else
Garmin.
that's more tuned to what you want to do. But just for the people who are into the exercise and that kind of thing, that's really been the killer app for the watch. I just love having the watch because it gives me the notifications without having to have the phone. It gives me the little bit of exercise stuff. It's just at this point, I don't know what I did before the watch. Even with a Pebble, I loved my first Pebble, hated the second Pebble. But it's one of those things. Even the Pebble, the original Pebble, wouldn't cut it for me anymore.
Daryl, you're a high maintenance, high tech kind of guy.
I am. And you know what the worst thing is? What I use most often on the watch
Hmm.
is the weather. And it's all about dark skies, and I use Carrot as well. They're both using the forecast.io,
Hmm.
and it's just amazing to be able to pop that up and see, oh, the rain's going to stop in about 15 minutes. And usually in 10 to 20 minutes, when it says it's stopping in 15 minutes, okay, Fozzie, we're going to wait it out here. Let's play for a little bit, whatever. Then I'll take you for the walk when it's not going to be raining and you're not going to complain at me.
Forecast.io is amazing, or Forecastio, as I like to call it.
It is incredible. And Dark Skies is available now on Android.
Ooh.
Sadly, Carrot is not, but I do like to get insulted with my weather.
Yeah. As one should.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the weather is just kind of insulting out here right now anyway.
Hey, Daryl, it's enough of us talking. Let's have somebody else talk for a little bit.
This is Starcasher from Toledo in northwest Ohio. Between Christmas and New Year's, I did a 3-day, 2-night trip to the Cincinnati area to attend Kings Island Amusement Park's Winterfest, which included many holiday-themed activities and entertainment, and the park was filled with colorful lights and decorations, and some of the rides were even open. This was an evening-only activity, so the days were free for geocaching. The two main goals that I had for the trip were to find the Geo Woodstock Giga-related GeoArt that near where Geo Woodstock will occur, and to start and make as much progress as I could on the Butler County Donut Trail. I managed to find all the geocaches for the G is for Giga GeoArt, but the park where the associated GWS Pointer GeoArt is located was closed for deer hunting season. As for the Donut Trail goal, I did not want to wait until I go down there for the Giga to do the Geo Tour. I figure that the Geo Tour will be a popular activity around that time, and the locations will be swamped with geocachers. I also was concerned about the Donut Trail geocoins, as I do not know how many of those coins they have left, and if they are planning on having enough coins for all the Geo Woodstock attendees that might do the tour. So I really wanted to get my geocoin before the event, even if that means that I needed to plan another trip before the Giga in order to complete my passport. Let me give you a few more details about the Butler County Donut Trail in case you are planning on attempting this during the Geo Woodstock. There are actually two parts to the Donut Trail. There is the original Donut Trail, which was for non-geocachers, and there's the Geo Tour for the geocachers. You can do both simultaneously. The original Donut Trail has a Donut Trail t-shirt as its completion prize. That part of the trail consists of 12 small business donut shops that are located across the county. At each of these shops, you need to go into the shop and have an employee stamp your passport with a stamp that is unique to that shop. There is nothing that says that you need to make a purchase in order to get the stamp, but it might seem a little rude to go into the shop and ask for a stamp without purchasing a donut or two. And as you know, we geocachers are a polite group, so calories will likely add up as you go. Going as a group might help here, as you could assign a designated eater to each location and have all your group's passports stamped with a single purchase. Just a thought. I'll give you a few more bites of information here. The passport comes pre-stamped with a stamp of the shop that is furthest northwest in the county. So that stop is optional, meaning that you only have to make 11 stops. There is one donut shop that has 2 locations, and you can go to either location to get the stamp. Most of the shops are small locations and have limited parking. Most of the shops open very early in the morning and close when they run out of donuts. Most open at 5 or 6 a.m., some open as early as 4 a.m., and some are various other times. Most are scheduled to close around noon, but as I said, they often run out of donuts earlier in the morning, like maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, and will close at that time. Some leave their doors open as they clean up so that you might be able to get a free stamp if your timing is right. The Butler County Trail Geo Tour is set up for the geocachers. The prize for completing the Geo Tour is a Geo coin. There are 15 geocaches on the Geo Tour. Each geocache contains a code word that you must write on your passport. You must find all 15 geocaches. There are 8 multis, 6 traditional, and 1 letterbox hybrid. There is a geocache whose coordinates are at or near each of the shops on the original Donut Trail. That includes a traditional at the one shop that is optional on the original Donut Tour, but is not optional on the Geo Tour. I also mentioned that one of the shops on the original tour has 2 locations. There is a required geocache at both of those locations. In addition to each shop, the Geo Tour has a multi at a donut-related mural on the side of a building in one of the downtown areas of the county, and one geocache, the letterbox, at the Butler County Visitors Bureau's office where you can pick up your passport or turn them in for your prizes. Another thing to mention here is that the final for 2 of the multis are in parks that are only open in the daytime. So those would need to be found after about 6:30 a.m. in the May time frame. As for the passports, you do not need to go to the office to get one. Some of the shops have them, or you can go online and print them yourself before your trip. You can also mail your completed passports to the Visitors Bureau, and they will mail you your GeoCoin or your t-shirt. For the GeoCoin, you must have logged all 15 geocaches on geocaching.com before they will issue the GeoCoin. The website for the Butler County Visitors Bureau is www.gettothebc.com. That's www.gettothebc.com. From there, you can click on Things to Do and go to the original Donut Trail or the Donut Trail GeoTour pages to print the passports or maps. You can go directly to those pages by adding a /Donut Trail or /GeoTour to the main website address. Donut Trail is DONUT TRAIL. And of course, GeoTour is GEOTOUR. As for my trip, I divided the tour into 2 days. I arrived in the area about noon after driving down from Toledo. I spent about 3 hours finding 7 of the 15 geocaches and managed to find one shop that was still open to get my stamp. The next day, I started at 7 a.m. and spent the next 5.5 hours finding the other 8 geocaches and going to the shops that were open and eating many donuts. Among my donut selections were 2 glazed chocolate cake donuts, a cinnamon honey bun, and a giant cream-filled Long John with chocolate frosting. All were very good. I also had to retrace some of my previous day's trip to go to shops that were closed the previous afternoon. Some of the donut shops were closed for the entire holiday week, so I ended up with 4 blank spots on my original donut tour passport, which I would need to get on another trip or during Geo Woodstock. I did turn in my GeoTour passport, but since I had not logged the finds until a few days later, I am waiting for them to verify my passport and mail me my GeoCoin. My suggestions, if you are planning to do the donut trail, is that you first decide if you want to do only the GeoTour to get the GeoCoin, or if you want to get both the coin and the t-shirt. If you only want to get the coin, you have more freedom as to when to attack the tour. It can be done anytime during the daylight hours. It would likely take you about 5 to 6 hours of driving and searching to do the GeoTour only. If you plan your route efficiently, you might be able to do it in less time, assuming you don't get distracted by all the other geocaches that you'll be passing by. If you want the t-shirt also, you'll need to plan for an extra couple of hours for pastry decisions, waiting for your turn for service, and consumption. The wait time and time finding parking will likely be longer during Geo Woodstock. You will also likely want to break your tour up into 2 or more days, starting between 6 and 8 a.m. each day. Hopefully these donut shops will staff up and make extra donuts and perhaps even extend their open hours during Geo Woodstock. Also, hopefully the store hours for the days around Geo Woodstock will get listed someplace, maybe on the Donut Trail website, as it is not easy to gather that information individually. I hope this information will be helpful if you are planning to attempt the donut tour. If you have any questions, contact me via geocaching.com.
All right. Thanks so much, Jim, for that. That was really good. I'm looking forward to actually trying to do the donut trail, and we'll probably be doing it during the Geo Woodstock timeframe, just because I'm not sure when else I'm going to do it.
I
So
just want to eat the donut.
yeah,
Oh,
if
no,
you
no,
come in, Chris, we might have to do it.
Now,
'Cause
I mean,
here's the trick that we've figured out. You need to have designated eaters in your group, and you need to have a big group.
or one big person.
Sure, I guess.
No, like a Homer Simpson. No. I mean, it sounds incredible. So thank you, Starcasher, for that great report. Now I want donuts.
Yeah, but last year was our year of donuts.
Yeah.
Not this year. We don't have a food yet for this year.
Are we going to stick with the circular theme?
I don't know. I was thinking of like a slice of pizza because we're on our 7th year.
Oh,
And the slice of pizza kind of has, that 7.
oh, I see what
But
you're
I
saying.
think we
But
need
still
Chris.
circular food.
It is.
It's a
But the
circular
slice is
food
the trick.
that's shaped in a triangle and served in a square box.
True. Yeah, but I think we need Rock Chalk back on to help us pick our food for this year.
That would be true. So, um, Starcacher, great idea to go ahead of the big rush at Geo Woodstock to make sure you didn't run out of coins and or t-shirts. And I agree with you. I hope they stock up on both coins, t-shirts, and donuts because I think there's a lot of geocachers that are going to hit this and try to complete it all. So it should be
Absolutely.
interesting. And we've
there's
talked
a lot of
about
people
it here that we want to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have already been making the trip from this area to do it. But even then, the coin that we had on screen, and if you haven't checked out the video, you want to probably go back and look at it because Starcasher actually gave us a photo of his coin, which is 419,
Mhm.
and the tracking number is on there. So if you want to watch the video, you can check out that tracking number and actually discover it.
Which is also an area code in northwestern Ohio.
Ah, yes. No, but it's number 419. So I'm assuming, probably not correctly, but I'm assuming they're giving those out in order. So if he has the 419th coin and they're only going to do 500 coins,
Oops.
they're going to run out long before Geo Woodstock.
Yeah, but you still will have the donuts to remember the donut trail.
Yes, but the donuts are not discoverable.
Oh, he discovered several donuts.
Yes, but only once.
Oh, okay.
And he can't share those discoveries. Just describe them.
He did. He shared them with us.
No. He described them to us. We did not
shared his
taste any
description.
donuts.
Okay,
All right.
I'm not going to argue with you, Daryl.
Well, we usually don't have timely enough information that we can give you guys warnings on the show, but there is a major bug that was discovered in both Mac OS and iOS. So if you're an iPhone or Mac user on the latest versions of the operating system, be careful what links you open up in your Messages app. And it's actually, you don't even have to open them. It's we'll have a link to the article from Mac Rumors here because there's a fix that's coming. Apple announced the fix would be coming this next week. So when that hits, make sure to get that right away. And it's if you have a link that someone has too much information in a descriptor, basically,
Mhm.
it crashes the message app either on the phone or on the computer. And there's almost nothing you can do about it is what we're hearing. It's a really nasty overflow, basically.
Nasty.
So they're saying that the fix is most likely in iOS 11.2.5, and the current beta, version 6 beta, is in the hands of the developer, and that one is not vulnerable to the bug. So this was discovered just like a day or two ago. They've already pushed out a new beta, and the new beta, it doesn't have the bug anymore. So we are getting a fix pretty quickly. This isn't going to be one of those long-lived ones. However, as soon as this update comes out for iOS and for macOS, I would recommend doing it immediately
Mhm.
because it doesn't take much to get hit by this, and you might not even have much of an ability to block it. But because once you open up the thread that has that link in there, it's when they try to generate that preview,
Yep.
it's when it's parsing that preview that it crashes the phone, and you're just SOL.
So my first generation iPod Touch running iOS 6 should be safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're on, I think 10 was fine as well. It's only 11, I think, that does that preview thing.
Right.
And that always annoyed me. I don't want the preview because that's more often than not, that preview just sits there and twiddles and doesn't actually do anything for me until it's too late. But we do have a tip from iMore, and this is an older one about how to use the QR codes in iOS 11 because it's actually built into the camera app now. And I've had a few people asking me how this works, so I figured we'd include it in this show. It's really easy now for iOS 11 users to do a QR code. All you have to do is go open your camera app, take a picture, and you'll get a little notification banner that lets you click into whatever that is. And what's interesting, it actually copies that to the clipboard. So you can paste it in somewhere.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that I hadn't known until I was listening to a different podcast where it was brought up. So that's kind of obnoxious as well. So if you like this, it's great because you can capture a QR code. It gives you the option to go to it. You don't have to. You can still take pictures of QR codes if that's what you really wanted. But you can just go in there and it does whatever it needs to do with that QR
It
code.
does. I just tried it. Now,
Yeah.
it didn't copy it to the clipboard, but I didn't
Oh.
tap on it either.
Oh, excellent. Okay. That makes me happy that it doesn't go to the clipboard. Because if
Hmm.
I have like a cache code or something in the clipboard that I want to keep, I don't want it overwritten necessarily with the URL that I have to go to that I'm going to have to punch that, paste that number into that form or something, So
Oops.
you can turn that off though if you don't want it. Because I can see where, if you're taking pictures that have QR codes in them regularly, you don't want that to pop up. So if you launch the settings app on the phone or iPad, scroll down to the camera, tap that, and then there's a toggle next to scan QR codes that you can turn off, and then it doesn't scan those. And likewise, if it's not scanning, go back, check your settings and camera app, and see if you have accidentally turned it off.
So it's doing nothing in iOS 10, which I didn't expect it to do, but
Yeah, no, this is new in 11, so you
I
have to
have to go
have
check.
11.
But it does work in 11.
That is so nice. It's
Very.
been way too long.
It has
Well,
been. I mean,
and one
I
of the
don't
problems
mind
is we've lost so
launching.
many of the QR scanning apps.
Mhm. And to be honest, I use Munzie as my primary QR code scanner because it's much quicker than most of the apps.
Yeah. Yeah. At Muncie, I think I had problems with Muncie not taking some of the codes, like the phone numbers didn't work.
Hmm.
But that could have been an old version, or could have been the Android version didn't do it and the iOS did or whatever. But yeah, I primarily was using QuickMark, but QuickMark hasn't been updated and doesn't work under iOS 11.
Mm-mm. Red Laser still works.
Yeah, I do have some of the other ones. There's like Quick Scan, I think, is one of the other ones that I have.
Something.
Yeah, I have one that's both a scanner and a generator.
Hmm.
So that one I like. Not that I've generated many QR codes, but to be able to make a QR code quickly and send it to someone or print or whatever really is nice.
I still want to reshingle my roof and make it a QR code using black and white shingles from Google Earth.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I can talk in a roofer into doing it.
No, probably. Well, you just have to find the right roofer.
Okay.
All right. Well, Chris, we're up to 90 or to 90 to 50 minutes on this one. So
Wow.
we're going to have one more article because I think this is important to hit before we wrap up and head to the bonus show. You want to read that info from GPS World?
I would love to. A grave threat to GPS in GNSS. We hear this about from Bradford Parkinson, the vice chair of the U.S. PNT Advisory Board. In the coming months, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, that's the FCC for the rest of us, may allow high-powered ground-based communication transmitters to broadcast at a frequency near GPS L1. The U.S. Department of Transportation tests have shown that such transmitters effectively become jammers for many existing GPS receivers. I believe this is a possibility of the greatest current threat to position, navigation, and timing. That's PNT, position, navigation, and timing. Um, you know, we talked about this way back in 2011. I don't remember how long ago that was, but it seemed like a long time ago when Light Squared, I don't know if you remember the name of that company. They proposed using wireless communication on the band right next to GPS, and it never took off. So we'll have to see. But you know, anything high powered near that GPS band on Earth is going to override those weak, tired signals coming from space.
Yeah, and a lot of the problem is most of the GPS receivers that we used to use don't do a very good job of filtering out the nearby signals. So the newer GPSRs are supposed to be better. However, it's all of that older stuff. Think of the old gear that they were still probably using on things like tractors.
Mhm.
That stuff tends to get used for decades. So,
Well, what about car GPSs built in? You know,
yeah,
the
exactly.
dashboard navs
Mm.
from, 1990. Well, that might be too far, but
Yeah.
the
Well,
2000
those probably wouldn't be
models.
usable anymore either, because some of those like late '90s ones actually had DVD ROMs with the maps on them.
Most of them still do. Yeah. That they're
Well, now they're on
fine there.
yeah, and well now they're on like a SD card or something. For the modern ones. But yeah, the I always thought that was hysterical. We have DVD ROM in the heads up or a head unit that's you have to actually remove the head unit basically to change it out, but that's what has your maps. So
Mhm.
you had to go into the dealer, give them 150, $200 to update your maps. And really, I don't know any street maps that would still be usable today from 20 years ago. It would help, but there's enough changes it would cause problems.
The main freeways are still there.
Yeah, but even like the on and off ramps in my area, there's at least three that I can think of where they've moved uh, entrance and exits. So sometimes they're now like the next road up to get
Mhm.
on, or just closed entirely. One of them they actually shifted everything over about half a mile. So, they rebuilt everything with new ramps and all, and yeah, so you'd be pretty confused trying to get onto the freeway from.
That's right.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the main show. We'll be back with a patron show in a little bit, which will have Tick Magnet wants to know a little bit more about the jump starter kits. We've got another article from GPS World about Brexit fallout and how it's affecting Galileo. China's also launched a couple more Baidu satellites. And we have some news from the National Park Service that most of the board has resigned. So all of that's
Hmm.
coming up in the patron show. And if you are a patron, patreon.com will have the link so that you can join that show in just a few moments. Chris and I got to reset and we'll be right back after this. But patrons, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do the show without all that you do.
And speaking of shows, Daryl works really hard at planning these fabulous shows. Now, next week, I kind of spoiled it early on in the show if you were listening. We're going to talk about 3D printing. We're going to have Antaeus, C. Nelson, and Land Monkey on. And we're going to ask what goes into a good or even bad 3D printed cache. February 1st. Can you believe we're already talking about the second month of this new year? And we're talking about streaking. No, not that kind of streaking that has a song that goes with it. We're talking about consecutive days of geocaching with Brian and Patty of Team LaRue.
Team
And,
LaRue.
huh?
Team LaRue.
LaRue. What? Okay. Sorry. Team LaRue. Um, and they have gone, are you ready for this? 2,575 days. That's over 7 years of finding a geocache every day. We're going to find out how they do it. February 8th, we're coming back with one of our favorite guests, Jennifer of Team AJK, and we're talking about puzzles. We're going to do a GeoCheckers update, management of puzzle data, and of course, questions from fellow GeoGearheads. And then February 15th, day after Valentine's Day, is our next randomized show. So send in topics for us to talk about.
Check the Cashemaniacs website at cashemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave feedback by emailing geogearheads at cashemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cashemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cashemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Hoffenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2018 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cashemaniacs.